Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Monday. Obviously, it was a great day for Bitcoin for most of the miners. Some miners did better than others. We'll get into everything what's happening there. We'll also take a look at Bitfarms. They're looking for a new CEO. Geoff Murphy is going to be stepping down here in the next couple months, I'm guessing here, maybe. So we'll take a look at that story. We'll also take a look at Marathon providing some new devices and software for ASIC mining. We'll take a look at that, and as far as how that kind of competes with maybe Brains a little bit there. And then we'll maybe take a look at the miners here, how they're kind of looking right now to finish out the quarter potentially, as far as what has their hash rate growth been, and then as far as what the revenues, how their revenues have increased over the last quarter compared to last quarter potentially. Okay, so we'll get through all that, and as always, you guys know the drill here. Plus we got 24 more days possibly before the halving event, so we're getting close. But as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research, and I'm invested in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button and subscribe. Definitely helps me out tremendously. And then corrections will be posted to Discord, YouTube, and Twitter, and all those places if we make a mistake. Okay, so let's take a look at what happened today with miners, and it was a pretty good day. Bitcoin had a really good day here. We've had a pretty good 2-day run so far. So Bitcoin, as you can see here on the chart, if we zoom it in, Bitcoin was up to a high of 71,269. We are currently at 69,920. So we've come down a little bit here from where we were, but we're still up about 3.98%. We were like 5% up almost on the day here, so it wasn't too bad. But it's doing pretty good here. We obviously got a little selling right now, just taking a little breather, which is fine. And then when we look at the miners themselves, they've had, well, a lot of them had a pretty good day. Some did not. So obviously, Annie here was only up 6.52. Argo was basically flat. Bit Digital was up barely 0.84. Bitdeer was up barely 0.7%. Bitfarms was actually down on the day, 0.87. You had Cypher being up 13.85%, which was a great day for them. They were up actually higher than that. But they kind of came down here. Same thing with CleanSpark. CleanSpark was finished out the day at 19.88%. They're at $23.40. They actually now kind of flipped a little bit with Marathon. They're a little bit, their stock at least is valued a little bit more, but their market cap is still lower than Marathon's. And then you got Cores being down today, 0.29%. DigiHost was down 0.73%. DMG was up 9.9%, almost 10%. Hive was up 4.59%. Hut 8 was up 7.8%. Iris Energy was up 10.5%. Marathon up just barely 0.38%. Mawson up 9.72%. Riot up 9.12%. Stronghold up 2.02%. Wolf up 4.4%. And then if we look at MicroStrategy really quick, that one was up 21%. Right, so that one's doing really well again here with Bitcoin going up as well. But it was kind of interesting to see how things played out today. We had obviously really a mixed bag here as far as what happened with the miners. Some of you have commented on Twitter that it looks like some of the asset light miners are being, the shares are being basically traded out of those and going into the miners that have infrastructure and things like that. And that could be part of it. Could be also just, uptime, efficiencies, all those things are being taken into account, especially as we get closer into the halving event. So maybe that's what's really driving the kind of rotation that we're seeing here into some of these miners as well today. Okay, but that's it on the miners. If we look at the network hash rate here really quick, we can see here that on the 30-day network hash rate continues to increase here. It's now at 593 exahash, and this is on the 30-day average. If we look at the last day or so, we can kind of see here how it's been kind of bouncing up and down, but we do have pretty huge swings here from 500 exahash all the way up to 709 exahash, right? So we are seeing that as well, those swings, which I think are common here. We've seen those for quite a while, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And then we already spoke about the days left before the halving event, so we are getting closer, which is a good sign as well. But let's get into the stories that we do have here, and we'll get into the miners. So Marathon Digital Holdings releases industry-leading Bitcoin mining firmware and control boards. And here's what we got. So today launched, Marathon today launched Mara FW and Mara UCB 2100, industry-leading firmware and control board designs to improve the performance, efficiency, and versatility of various Bitcoin mining rigs. So they're kind of competing now with Brains OS and others as well. And we'll take a look at the offerings that they both offer here. But for the past year, Marathon has been developing and testing Mara FW and Mara UCB 2100 control board as part of its vertically tech stack to optimize performance. The company is currently rolling out Mara FW across its fleet of more than 200,000 Bitcoin mining rigs. Going down here, given the positive results of these initial rollouts, Marathon is now offering both Mara FW and Mara UCB 2100 to the broader Bitcoin mining community. Marathon has already successfully sold Mara FW and Mara UCB 2100 to multiple enterprise clients. The company is now providing all interested miners with the opportunity to experience some of the unique technology that sets Marathon apart. Right now, with the way the Marathon is operating in their own facilities and everything else, it's not. I would have waited until their operations were more better, I guess you could say, fixed, right, where they had more uptime to roll this out. I don't know if this was the reason that the stock went down today or what, but it just seems like they have their hands in too many things all at once, and they're not really paying attention to what's going on with their own. Well, I'm sure they're paying attention to it, but they're letting the ball slip there a little bit with their self-mining operations as far as uptime efficiencies and things like that in the last 3 months especially, right? So that's not a good look for them there, at least. And I think that's possibly why the stock was down today. You guys can read the rest of it here, but as my take on this is, I think it's great that they're providing this to the broader market, but I just don't know how well it's going to be received by a lot of the large-scale institution miners, right? A lot of them already have their own either OS or they are using somebody else's already now, and I don't know how I would feel about using a competitor's firmware or control board in my operations, right? Especially having to pay them also like a 2% dev fee, or you can buy the actual lifetime license on it. Don't know what the cost is on that. But regardless, if you just take the, which their cost isn't too bad on the dev fee, it's 2%. But that's still, if you make, let's just say $10 million a month from mining, that's 200,000. Multiply that times 12, you got, what is that then? 2.4 million, right? My math is correct on that. 200,000 times 12, that should be 2.4 million. Let's double check here. 200,000 times 12, yeah, 2.4 million. So I mean, you're basically paying Marathon at that point 2.4 million to run your own machines. I don't know how I would feel about that. I'd probably not use theirs systems, but other people might use it. Obviously, people that have much lower hash rate or people that use hosting solutions for their customers, things like that, they might use it. They may not care, right? But if you have your own pool, not your own pool, but your own operations, your own rigs, probably not something that you're going to be using here. But time will tell, I guess. But here's their offering that we have, the Mara FW, which is their firmware update to the miners. You guys can look through this, but the interesting part here was their graph here shows pretty good results. And they do have a pretty good number of models that are being right now available for. So where did I see it? Here we go. So S19, S19J, S19 Pros, J Pros, SXPs, J Pro Plus, S19JK Pros, S21s, and T21s. So I think they're maybe the first ones that have those offerings. If you look at Brains here, Brains doesn't offer the latest T20, S21s and the T21s. They're up to the XPs here so far on it. So Brains is a little bit behind, maybe a little bit on that one. Just a little bit, maybe they're working on something to come out with the T21s, but you can see here their dev fee is 2.5%, right? And they stated someplace that they have over 200,000 machines running as well on their system, which is more in line, right? We're kind of expect that to be with maybe hobbyists, things like that. Some people also running it for their hosting customers potentially. So they're competing both against this, and then there's other firmware updates as well from other companies that are doing about. I think Brains is one of the biggest ones here, and then you got obviously the controlling board here, which is kind of like what control board has for Brains, right? Brains has it also, but it's only for let's see here. This one is, let's see if it states it here. I thought it was most popular S19 series models. So that one's for the S19s, whereas Mara's is applicable to, let's see here, I saw it here someplace. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. Mining pools, hardware. There we go. So again, S19s through S21s, through the T21s as well. So it's available for all those right now. Now, depending on the cost, obviously, I think these cost, well, at least the ones from Brains cost like $89 or something like that. $94, yeah. When you buy 5 or more, when you buy 10 or more, $89. So you're getting a little bit of discount there. But again, why would you change out the board on a miner that already has a board on it, right? You can just update the software in there. Doesn't really make much sense. to do that unless there's really something specific that you can do with these boards that you would not be able to do with the regular stock boards from Bitmain on these machines. Right? I think the biggest thing here is the firmware updates, which gives you more capabilities than what's offered through Bitmain right now. So I think that's more appealing than the actual control boards on it. I mean, the control boards, it would be nice to maybe get a control board if one goes bad for you. Get it from these guys, test it out, see how it runs and everything else, but not something that you would probably deploy across 200,000 machines. That's going to get pricey at that point if you do that. But yeah, that's just my take on it. We'll see how this works out for them. But I do feel like they're kind of getting themselves into too many things, right? They got the slipstream thing going on. They got the, let's go back to Marathon here. Let's see, you got more FW control board, Aduro, slipstream, right? They're just kind of getting their little fingers into everything, it seems like. And it almost would be better if they split up a part of the company here to do those other things where it's not as tied to Marathon as completely. Maybe that's just my take on it. But it's nonetheless, it's interesting stuff that they're doing. And maybe in time we will see that they are actually very good at this, right? Where they do have it installed on the machines, their uptime is much better, things like that. That way they can point to it. This helped us out increase our revenues by 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever it might be, because we're using these things. Well, at that point, it might become a little bit more appealing, I think. All right, but that's it for that one. Just wanted to go over that really quick here with you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And then let's get into Bitfarms here really quick. So Bitfarms announces CEO transition. There's really no transition yet. Jeff Murphy is still going to stay on as a CEO until they find a replacement. And there's some speculation as far as why is Jeff Murphy leaving right now. It could be for a number of reasons. It could be personal, it could be family, it could be medical or health reasons, whatever it might be. Or it could be also that maybe that Bitfarms, wants to open up shop in the United States where they're headquartered out of the United States. That way they can maybe take advantage of the FASB rules for Bitcoin and everything else, which they can't right now. That might be a reason why he might be stepping down, is he wants to remain in Canada with his family, right? Instead of moving down to the United States. But that's just some things that obviously to take into account here. That's some of the possibilities that might be happening, right? But we just don't know. So Bitfarms today announced a CEO transition. Jeff Murphy, President's Chief Executive Officer and Director, will be departing upon completion of an executive search and will lead the company during this interim period. So that's good there. Murphy will continue to focus on our corporate growth strategy and ensuring execution towards our growth targets and smooth transition of leadership. The board has formed a CEO search committee of independent directors that will act expeditiously with an identified executive search firm. So they're working on it, and I think this is good, right? They have a pretty good path forward for 2024 to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year. I think right now it kind of makes sense. If somebody's going to depart, now would be the time to do it because they already have that plan in place. And then that way the new CEO can come in and start working on the plan for 2025. But here is one of the, let's see, Chairman Nicholas Bonta. He continued, "We thank GF for his leadership, commitment to strong governance, and dedication to expanding the company's operations since joining the company in 2020. Murphy modernized Bitfarms' management infrastructure and transformed its mining portfolio, leading to significant growth, international diversification, and operating efficiencies. Murphy oversaw the international expansion into the U.S., Paraguay, and Argentina, as well as expanding in Quebec. Murphy has been an integral part of the company's success and is due to his stewardship that the company is now opportunely poised for the CEO transition. We are confident in the strength of our management team and the dedication of our employees to continue drive Bitfarms to be the top performer in the industry." So I agree with that. I think that's all good there. And if they were getting ready to can Murphy, they would have probably done it, put in an interim CEO for the time being, somebody from the company now, or one of the board members or something like that, and then they would have looked for somebody else. So I think this is just Murphy leaving it at his own accord, right? Possibly pursuing something else, whatever the reasons might be. That's kind of what's going on here. So it's not too bad. I actually bought more shares today because of the news, and I always look at this stuff kind of in a longer time frame, right? They already have the path ahead for them to get to 21 exahash, and I saw obviously a lot of FUD today. People were kind of dogging out a little bit, worried what's going on there. And anytime I see fear in the markets, that's kind of what I buy, right? When I see fear, I get greedy. When I see greed, I get fearful. So I started buying some more today. I bought last week and I bought the week prior as well. And I'll probably continue to do that while the stock is way down here. And the stock could be also down because they have the ATM right now, which might be diluting as well to get to their goal, 21 exahash. And then obviously this didn't help today either, right? There's, it's never good in the eyes of investors when a CEO is being or leaving for whatever reason and new CEO is coming in, because you just don't know what you're going to get. All right, so that's just that on that one. And let's get into the miners really quick. We'll just kind of go through them relatively quick. We'll take a look at 3 things on each one roughly and see how they've done so far for the Q1, which is estimate numbers, because we still don't have the numbers for this month, March, but we're getting close. So I think we can get pretty close numbers. We won't be accurate, but we'll get pretty close numbers on it. So if we start with the first one here, Argo, things that I really want to look at here is obviously BTC production. And then looking at their revenues really quick as well, along with their quarterly revenue potentially. So as you can see here, for the quarter here, they've been coming down here in revenue BTC generated, but we're seeing that for a lot of the miners. If they're not growing faster than the network hash rate, you're going to see that. So that's kind of okay. Revenue also coming down here as well. That's obviously not a good sign. We'd like to see revenue go up, but you also need to have Bitcoin go up in price or the production go up as well. So we won't go through all those, but that doesn't look good there. Looking down here on the last 4 quarters revenue, last quarter they had 10.41 million. This quarter about 16.1. So that's still good. That's being helped by Bitcoin price going up. Nonetheless, that's still a good sign there, right? Bitcoin continues to stay up there. They might be in a much better place come halving event than they would be otherwise. Bitcoin is at 40 or 50,000. Okay. Next BitDew here really quick. Same thing. We're seeing obviously BTC production coming down, revenue kind of coming down, and then flatlining a little bit here as Bitcoin prices come up. So that's kind of good there. Their revenues here are a little different because I don't have all the, well, I have the last 3 quarters and the current quarter. This should be estimate, total estimate. And I'm using the estimate for the self-mining and for their other business segments as well. So this one's going to be possibly wildly off. But I'm at 92.7 million on that. Last quarter, they came in at 87.3, so that would be an increase there, which would be good. It still might not be as high as their Q2 numbers were from last year, okay? So that's that one. BitDigital really quick as well. You can see BTC coming down here. We got revenue kind of coming down but going back up, so that's a good sign there. And then we come up here, we can see hash rate has been growing, which is good. And the last 4 quarters revenue, current quarter that we're in, estimated 21.45 million, which is good compared to the 16.5 million that they had in Q4. So those are good things. So I think a lot of miners will actually have a pretty good quarter here in Q1. Bitfarms here, revenue has, or BTC production has been coming down like we have seen for others. Revenues have been coming down as well because the Bitcoin transaction fees have been less for a lot of these guys here. We were at 20% in February or December. January was down to 10%. February was down, and then we're obviously waiting to see how they do in March here, right? So we don't have March data yet. Going down here as far as hash rate growth has been happening here, but they've been kind of flat here in the last 3 months. And then revenues have been increasing as well for the current quarter estimated, which is kind of looking pretty good for them. Next is Cypher really quick. BTC been coming down. Revenues have been going back up, so that's good there. Hash rate kind of flat here, at least for the last couple months. And then revenues have been going up to 51.16. So they're pretty close to like Bitfarms. And Bitfarms is at 744 million market cap, and Cypher is at 1.3 billion. Wow. Okay, so there's definitely a difference there between the two of them right now. So you're definitely seeing that Bitfarms is more possibly undervalued than where its peers are right now. And they pretty much have the same hash rate. Cypher's up a little bit higher. Cypher's at 7.4 exahash, and Bitfarms is at 6.5. So maybe a little bit difference between the two, but not much. Okay, next here, Cypher, we talked about, revenue, we talked about that. CleanSpark, BTC Mined has been going up here as they've installed obviously more miners, and we should see another bump in it in March, with all the miners being installed to 16 exahash. We saw a pretty good spike here in revenue also in February. We're at 32.3 million, which is better than what they did in December, which is not easy for a lot of these miners to do. But they were able to do that because of the growth they've seen. And then hash rate growth, obviously huge hash rate growth. We still have some growth left potentially in this month, in March. We'll see what that comes in at. And right now we're estimating about 108 million for them in revenue here for the current quarter. Last quarter was 73.7 million. So nice jump here in revenue. Core Scientific, BTC production coming down, revenue coming down, but being kind of flat here, up a little bit here, just slightly about 500,000 or so. Hash rate has been going up, which is nice to see as well there. And then revenue, nice increase here as well to possibly 149 million from the 112 million that we saw prior. So that's looking good. DigiHost, BTC coming down. Revenue coming down and going back up a little bit here, so that's good to see. And then current quarter, let's see, hash rate. Hash rate has been flat for the last 3 months. And then current quarter, 8.4 million compared to 5.3 million, which is a good sign there as well that their revenues are going up, but that's also based on Bitcoin price going up. DMG here really quick. Bitcoin production coming down. What else do we have here? Let's see here. Revenues are over here now. Revenues came down and going back up. Hash rate has been flat, and revenues are actually up 8.7 million from 7.2 million, so that's still good. A little bit of an increase, but nonetheless, it's still a good increase. Then we got Hive. Hive BTC production has been coming down. Excuse me. Monthly mining revenue has been coming down as well, which obviously February was a shorter month for a lot of these guys. And then let's see what else we have here. Hash rate growth. They have been increasing their hash rate. They were actually coming down here, and then they started going back up here a little bit. But the revenues are going to be a little bit higher than they were in the prior quarter, 32.4 potentially from 31. So an increase is an increase nonetheless, but not as much as we're seeing from some of the other higher growing ones. Hut 8, Bitcoin production has been coming down here. Their, let's see here, monthly Bitcoin revenue has been down as well. It was pretty flat here from January to February as well. Hash rate has been flat actually for the last 3 months. And then their revenues here are going to be much higher because they actually have the numbers from the, well, we're still waiting actually on Q4 numbers for them from the merger with USBTC. But right now it's at 36, so we'll have to see where those numbers came in for Q4 for them, which I think they're going to be reporting this week, the 28th, I believe. Okay, so we got to wait for that. Iris Energy here, BTC production has been coming down. Excuse me. Going down here. The hash rate has been going up, which is good. Revenue has been going up as well through February. And then their current, it's going to be kind of tough here. They do theirs every 6 months for releases. So we're looking at that based on the numbers that we have here. We're looking at possibly about 47, 48 million maybe for the quarter here. So if you multiply that times 2, we're looking possibly at like 96 million or something like that, which would definitely be higher than where they are here, right? But that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Depending where Bitcoin goes, it could be actually lower for the second half. But if we cut this in half, we're looking at, 38 million and per quarter roughly, and this would be 47 million. So that is an increase there. So that's looking good on them. Next is Marathon here. Marathon production has been coming down. Huge decrease, obviously, here from December that we saw. And then, let's see here. Hash rate has been growing as well, which is good to see. Revenue, however, you can see here in December, 76 million, January, 42 million, February, 36 million. And then for the quarter, we're looking at approximately 116 million, which is way down from where they were, 156 million in Q4. And that is based on, well, because their production has been kind of bad here in the last couple months because of issues that they've had at the facilities as well, okay? But that's kind of what we're looking at. Marathon there. Let's get into the last couple that we have here. We'll call it a day. Mawson, surprisingly, production has actually been kind of down and up, which we don't see that typically with the other miners, but that one's up because I think they got some more customers for hosting. And that's the only reason I can think of it right there. Going down here to hash rate, like you can see, has been flat, but their revenues have increased here. Oh, I think they curtailed less. That's the reason why. From memory, they actually curtailed less. And then you can see the revenue here is just going to be up very, very slightly above where it was before. So 6.9 million compared to 7.5 million, 7.05 million, sorry, on that one. So a little bit of an increase there on that one. And going to the next one, Riot. Riot production has been coming down. Hash rate kind of flat here over the last 3 months. Revenues have been coming down as well on that, but they're still going to be possibly squeaking out a better quarter than the prior one, 70.8 million for self-mining only, compared to 60 million, so about 10 million more, which is still pretty good. We'll see how much they curtail for the month of March. That might actually drive them up or down a little bit. Then we got Sphere 3D really quick. Revenue or BTC production has been coming down. Hash rate has been coming down also because they're moving miners right now. Revenues have been coming down as well. And then, but for the quarter here, it looks like they're going to be a little bit better. 8.4 million compared to, excuse me, 7.1 million here on that one. So still a beat on that. And then Stronghold. Here we can see that their production has been coming down. BTC mined revenue kind of up and down a little bit here. but down and up mostly. Their hash rate has increased, but that also includes their hosting hash rate in there as well. And then down here, their revenues for the quarter, it looks like a little bit of an increase to 29.8 from 21.7. So that's looking pretty good there on that one. And finally, TeraWolf here on this one. If we look at it, this is BTC self-mined as estimated, right? Their actually BTC production has been going up, which is good to see. Their revenues have been going up as well, which is also nice to see there. And that's maybe why the stock is actually doing pretty well here recently. And their hash rate has been increasing as well, which is also nice to see there. So all those things are pointing to a nice quarter of them for about 42.8 million here. And this is just from self-mining. This does not include the JV stuff in there as well, which gets reported as assets. But still nice increase here, basically almost a double an increase in revenue from the prior quarter. So that's looking really good for them. And I think that's maybe why the stock is doing pretty good here. But that's it. Right, we'll get some more numbers on these guys and everything else. Once we get the March numbers, we'll get some quarterly results as well. We're still waiting on a couple to do that. When they do all that, we'll figure out what's going on here. And then we'll see, obviously, what's going on with not only the miners, but Bitcoin itself. We'll see where all that ends up at. I mean, right now, Bitcoin's in the new day. It's down a little bit here. Just, well, actually, up or down. It looks like it's actually up 0.02% at 69,900. And we still have, like I said, about 24 days, depending on which clock you look at. There's some that's showing a little bit more than that. Some are showing a little bit less. We'll get much better numbers, I think, once we get much, much closer to it. But it's pretty good. All this stuff is happening here before the halving event, which is nice. Miners are still doing a lot better than I expected them to do before the halving event this time around. And we'll see how things go forward after the halving event. That'll be interesting. And we might see a cycle where we have the miners Bitcoin going much higher, much faster than we had in prior cycles. Instead of the 12 to 18 months going up there, we might be only 6 to 12 months a cycle, depending. We'll see. It's a good time to be alive. I'll say that. And it's a fun time to be alive because it's very interesting what we have happening here with the miners and everything else. I enjoy it greatly. Hope you guys do as well. And then we'll see what happens going forward, like I said before. Also, spreadsheets are available to you guys in the description down below for those of you that want to join the Patreon membership. It's $8 a month there. And you might be able to find a spot that's like $5 or $4 as well in there as well. But that's my sales pitch right there. So thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up down below. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe. That helps me out tremendously. And we'll see what happens later on this week. Should be fun. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys. Thanks again for coming in to watch this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.